The iPhone 11 Pro is a phone that's 100% worth buying in 2023, and let me tell you why. Now, the iPhone 11 Pro is a phone that has completely shocked me because even though there have been many generations to come after it, it still holds up really well and is a great alternative for those who don't need the latest and greatest. The iPhone 11 Pro still has a great display, it still has a very powerful chip, it still has a pretty okay battery life, and it still can give you an amazing experience when compared to newer iPhones. And despite my love for the iPhone 11 Pro, it's not perfect and can feel outdated at times, so I will be sharing my experience so you can see how it holds up in 2023. Now, when it comes to the overall design, there really isn't much that's changed between the iPhone 11 Pro, 12 Pro, 13 Pro, and even the 14 Pro. But something that Apple seems to love changing is the back camera. Also, instead of the boxy frame, there's a more rounded frame that resembles an iPhone 6. And besides those minor adjustments, you have the stainless steel sides that are the exact same as most Pro models on iPhones, extremely wide notch on the front, rounded frame that's easy to hold, and same frosted back that's very soft to touch. Now, in terms of durability, the iPhone 11 Pro has Corning Gorilla Glass material, which is pretty durable, but since the material is a little outdated, I wouldn't trust it as much and I will recommend a case. But if you are someone who doesn't rock your phone with a case, it should be able to survive a few drops on a wooden floor, but with concrete, you have about 2 to 5 drops before the screen or surrounding areas is liable to crack. The 11 Pro is also very comfortable to hold. It felt very comparable to the iPhone 11 since they are the exact same size with a rounded frame. It also has this roundness to it that's reminiscent of the OG iPhone 6, which I really like when it came to aesthetics. The 11 Pro is also comparable to the iPhone 14 Pro in terms of weight. It weighs 188 grams, which is lighter than the 14 Pro at 206 grams, and I really think that this added to its comfort. I usually always have my phone in my hands when I'm running, in the house, or at work, so it really helps to have a phone that didn't weigh me down. And lastly, the colors on the 11 Pro are pretty good. My personal favorite is green, but I do have the gold one, and it looks flashy yet pristine with the gold rails, camera, and back that makes it look even more beautiful. So now that I've gone over how the back and sides hold up and look after almost 4 years of use, it's time to take a look at the 11 Pro's display. It has a 5.8-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display that on paper might not get someone hyped, but exceeds expectations when used in real life. I love that even after so much time has passed, the 11 Pro still does great when it comes to brightness. It's at 1200 nits peak, and I had no problem seeing anything outside, no matter how much the sun came out. I also noticed that the auto brightness worked very well. A lot of times I didn't really feel like manually adjusting my brightness, especially when I had an extremely busy day. I would turn on auto brightness and it was really accurate like most iPhones are. And now when it comes to resolution, colors, and viewing experience, the 11 Pro does a really great job blending realism with very sharp colorful tones. In my earlier days of having this phone, I would game on it a lot. It doesn't look as good as the newer 14 Pro or the Galaxy S23 Ultra since those screens are much brighter and punchier, but it does get the job done. I can also say the same when it comes to watching movies and YouTube videos. I'm constantly changing phones, so I can notice that it's a couple years old, but to the average consumer, it'll look fine since it's still a very high quality display. Going deeper into the display, the 11 Pro has a good amount of screen real estate. I felt a really good chunk of its 5.8-inch display since the bezels are very small on the sides, and I say good chunk because we still have that very wide notch on top, which you do get used to very quickly, but can be a pain if you're coming from the hole punch camera on an Android. Also, the display was flat, so there was no shortage like on other phones that have curves, and despite the notch, the screen really didn't feel small at all. Now, something that's unfortunate about the 11 Pro's display is that it only has a 60 Hz refresh rate. Most other phones have 120 Hz, so that's what I'm used to, but Apple makes pretty smooth 60 Hz displays, and this phone is damn near 4 years old, so I will give it a pass. And now when it comes to Face ID, it still works very great, very comparable to the 14 Pro Max. It worked very well at night, day, and there were rarely any times where it would mess up on me, so I can say it still holds up very nice. And now moving on to the most important piece of hardware, the iPhone 11 Pro has a 3000 mAh battery that can still last you all day and is slightly better than my 12 Pro. Now, if you're the type of user that is on your phone all day, you're scrolling through TikTok 24/7 and always playing games on it, the 11 Pro should end with about 10% if you're lucky. But if you are someone who is on your phone for a majority of the day, you use your phone moderately for social media, make a couple of calls, show some funny memes to your friends, and get around 3 to 5 hours of screen time a day, this phone should definitely last you all day. And I usually get around 4.5 hours of screen time with mine, so I easily end my day with about 35% worth of battery, which is pretty great for me. I don't do too much. I scroll on social media, and if I'm in a situation where I have to use my 11 Pro regularly, I never really doubt it. And also, quick disclaimer for anyone who has questions, I have LTE on all the time. I use auto brightness, my phone is on light mode during the day, and I never use power saving mode, so you can get better results if you are a power saver. Now, when it comes to charging, I would pretty much say just like every other iPhone is pretty mid. I mostly charge my phone overnight, but there were times where I did need a portable, and it would definitely take over an hour and a half to charge to 100%, which again really isn't that good, but this phone is damn near 4 years old, so I'm not really going to complain. So if you are someone that wants a compact yet powerful phone that can last you all day, the iPhone 11 Pro is still a pretty good choice. Now in terms of power, the 11 Pro comes with a very powerful A13 Bionic chip that's specially made by Apple, and it still performs very good. Even when I'm playing games or getting work done on it, it never disappointed. There were periods of time where it would skip a little, but now it's improved a lot. There are times where I would get a shit ton of bugs, but I specifically blame this on iOS 16 since my 14 Pro Max went through the same thing. The latest update has been much better, but you still will run into some software hiccups from time to time. Now in terms of camera, the iPhone 11 Pro has a 12 megapixel main camera along with a 12 megapixel telephoto and 12 megapixel ultra wide, which still produces not only amazing videos but top-notch photos. Now starting with zoom modes, the 11 Pro has a couple of different zoom modes. The ultra wide pics take a huge hit in quality, especially when it comes to video, but I don't really want to be too harsh since this phone is almost 4 years old. The shutter speed is really fast. Right here you can see me taking pictures of things that are moving very fast, and not only does it capture most movements, but it still produces a high quality picture. And now next up, I will be showing you guys how the camera performs in different environments when it comes to taking pictures. Now looking at my outside pictures I took during the day, the selfies had realism and accurate colors, the sharpening wasn't too much, and one thing that I've always liked about iPhone selfies is that you can tell that the software is producing the most realistic picture possible, which is really great compared to other smartphones. The same goes for every other outside picture I took. Many times I'm taking pictures of streets, trees, the sky, and just random everyday objects. And just like the 12 Pro, 13 Pro, and 14 Pro, the photos had this sense of cleanness to them. Now taking a look at inside photos, the 11 Pro was able to capture everything very nice, and I found the pictures to be really good even when the lighting wasn't as great. Even my inside selfies were something to write home about. I really liked them a lot, and I will say that they held up very well. And now when it comes to shooting video, the iPhone 11 Pro is one of my favorite cameras, just like the 12 Pro. And if you are someone who wants an updated camera, the iPhone 11 Pro still does shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second, which is definitely good. And again, we have the same Apple software that'll blend that realism with your photos, so you're really not missing out on much. The video stabilization was really good. Whenever I'm shooting something, I can use everything handheld, and the movements will be very smooth, which was very impressive. And for fun, I decided to try out the stabilization to the max, and if I'm being honest, it was pretty good. There are better options out there, but again, this phone is 4 years old. So all in all, I would definitely say that the iPhone 11 Pro has a really good video camera that can give you some really good shots. And also, here's some iPhone 11 Pro after nearly 4 years since its release. It's an amazing phone that still holds up insanely well, and I can see why it's praised as one of the best iPhones of all time. The only problem that I have with it is that the battery health goes down very fast, just like the 12 Pro, and it doesn't really feel as fresh as the newer iPhone 14 Pro Max, which again, it really can't control. But besides that, the 11 Pro is great. It has a good display, a good but not great battery life, amazing software, and it's just an overall really good phone that I think many of you guys will like. And let me know down in the comments, do you think that the iPhone 11 Pro is still worth buying? Let me know. And again, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.